Welcome back, guys. It's good to see you again. And for those of you who are joining for the first time, thank you. And I want to give you a warm welcome. I am Danielle Towner of DreamWork Creatives and co-author of the Mompreneur Manual and the Balance Your Mind Power Planner, and also co-creator of the Mompreneur Manual group coaching and Facebook group. So if you are listening to the audio version of this, then you'll hear my whole spiel about who I am and what I do and my business babies. But on YouTube, we're going to keep it moving. So today we are discussing 7 ways to get past imposter syndrome. And that's something important to me because we've been going through a series where we're discussing challenges or obstacles that a lot of moms face when they're trying to start or grow their business. So we went through overcoming lack of funding, we went through how to get past mom guilt, and now we are discussing imposter syndrome. That's really important because a lot of it has to do with your thoughts or your mindset. And a lot of people breeze past the mindset part or don't connect that part to business. But really, it's like the nucleus of it because you could have the funding, you could have the team, you could have the skills, you could kill it. You could be one of the best in the game or whatever industry you're in. But without that mindset in the right place, all of it could not gel well together. So, that's why I want to talk about these different components. So let's dive into imposter syndrome. Now, it may be a term that you're not familiar with or that you may not have experienced, and if so, that's wonderful. Or it may come up later on, like as you grow and as you elevate into different levels or into being admitted into different rooms. It may, you may grow into it or it may happen. So it's best to understand it now, and then whatever you are dealing with later on, you'll be able to overcome it easily because you were like, okay, I was prepped for this. I'm prepared for this. I'm ready. Imposter syndrome, it can hinder your growth. It can keep you from knowing your value. It can keep you from asking or expecting what you're worth. And it can also hinder us from being ourselves. So let's talk about what the common definition or understanding of what imposter syndrome is. So imposter syndrome is basically doubting yourself and your capabilities, believing you can't do what you're skilled at, what you're experienced with, what you're educated in, or that you can't meet the expectations of what people know you as being an expert at. If other people view you as successful in this, you might feel, overwhelmed with that and feel like you can't meet their expectations. Let me tell you a little bit about when I first understood that I was experiencing imposter syndrome and what that felt like. When I previously dealt with imposter syndrome, it kind of made me feel like I wanted to shrink back up and not share my voice, not share my natural tone, my natural personality. Whenever I was given the opportunity to share my skills, my expertise, my experience, I would kind of shrink back up and not do that, or I would talk myself out of it. It would also make me second guess myself. I would compare myself to other people, or even, look at other people and kind of feel like, oh, I should be in a different place, or I should be as far along as they are. And then from there, those thoughts start wandering and those wheels start turning, and then it's like, okay, here are all the reasons why I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't move forward with this business. I should stop right now. I shouldn't accept this project or whatever it is. So let me know in the comments if you can relate to that. Can you relate to that, or have you ever had any feelings like that? Have you ever had experience with imposter syndrome in the way that I've described it? It sounds like imposter syndrome sounds like this horrible word, but it's really not, as I've explained it to you. So I hope that makes sense and that you realize it's not this horrible word that it sounds like. It's actually just someone who's very well capable, but they're kind of downplaying what they're capable of. So let's talk about what you can do to move past imposter syndrome and just not cut off these dreams, these visions that you have, and this legacy that you're creating for you and yours. The first thing that you want to do is acknowledge that you're feeling that way, but don't just sit in it. You want to identify why you're feeling that way. So is it because you're being a perfectionist and you want everything to be perfect before you move forward? Is it because you're trying to do too many things at one time or too much by yourself and you feel overwhelmed? Is it because you're comparing yourself to other people, or you're trying to do things because you feel like you should be on the same timeline with somebody else? And once you do that, you'll be able to, reach the core of it. As far as perfectionism, they say done is better than perfect. And of course you want to do your best, but nothing is ever going to be completely perfect. So you have to move past that. As far as trying to do too much, that's where delegate and automate comes in, and getting those extra set of hands, using people, whether they're in your household or outside of it, whether it's a niece or just getting that extra help, or narrowing down your niche, or narrowing down what you are doing as far as your business, and as far as moving forward from imposter syndrome. And as far as comparing yourself to others, you are you and they are them. They were gifted and blessed with the skills, the unique skill set that they have. You were gifted and blessed with the personality and the skills that you have. And you have to understand that and realize that you're supposed to do things and be exactly how you are, and they're supposed to be how they. Both of you will journey to the place and the purpose that you have on this earth. And as far as the timeline, you have to look at that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. If you're not doing anything at all, you're probably not exactly where you're supposed to be. But if you are doing the work, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and everything will happen for you in due season. But on top of that, you only know your story. You only know the work that you put in on a daily basis. You only know the time that you get up. You only know the routine that you have. You only know the hours that you put in, the people you talk to. They have their story. You don't know if they've been in it for a year or 10 years, because just because they started something new and it took off for them, you don't know what collective of experiences, of hardships, of obstacles they had to go through to get there. So you can't put yourself on the timeline of somebody else who you know nothing about, their background, their story, their education, or the type of assistance that they're getting. Focus on setting your own timeline that is comfortable for you, your unique circumstances, your family, your business. The second thing that you want to do is to tap back into what you're gifted at. So think about what you're gifted at, what you're skilled at, what your passion is. And that kind of affirms or confirms that you're supposed to be receiving these opportunities, and you're supposed to be doing these things, and you're more than capable of accomplishing the goals that you set for yourself, or what is being requested of you from clients or from your tribe. So just think about that. Even if you have to write it down, write down what you've accomplished so far, whether it's your education, whether it's skills you've acquired, whether it's things that you've learned from testing and trials, and whether it's the growth that you've had from the experience and the projects that you've already taken on. So that will, like I said, further confirm that you are worthy of what you're receiving and what you're capable of doing. Number 3, be honest with yourself and be honest with others about where you are on the journey. If you're a beginner, then you're a beginner. That doesn't take away from your skills and education. It just means that you're a beginner in this business venture. If you're learning something new, like you went through a course, everybody learns something new, or they should be, to progress in whatever skill or business they're trying to progress in. I'm in business coaching right now. I'm in a business course right now to elevate the skills that I have. So if you're learning something new, it's okay. Acknowledge that you're learning something new and be honest with yourself and others about it. If you're pivoting, if you found that I enjoy and I thrive better in this area of my business or in something else that I've learned. Like this right here, it wasn't my purpose or my passion. It was a means for me to get to where I am now. And I've learned that, I'm acknowledging that, and I'm pivoting. It's okay. Be honest with yourself and be honest with others about it. Number 4, don't give false results. So that piggybacks on that being honest with yourself and others. If you haven't received certain results and if you haven't given others certain results, there's no reason to be dishonest about it. If you need social proof or if you need testimonials and you are at a stage where you don't have anybody that has tested your business that way, if you're just starting off, then you can get you can get a test group. You can ask people, you can invite people to test out your product or your service for free or at a discounted rate. You can test on family and friends. Like a lot of people are willing to do this, and it's like use that as your results for yourself and for proof. You don't have to be dishonest about it and amplify these results that you haven't gotten. In another way, like besides getting people to test out your products and services on, you can talk about what you've done. You can talk about what you've experienced. You can talk about what you've learned. You can also talk about what you're capable of and what qualifications that you have. So everybody had to start somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere. So start with what you've actually done, what you know, what you're capable of, and what you've accomplished versus giving false results. Number 5 is don't procrastinate. Make sure that you prepare well enough ahead of time for any events that you have, for any deadlines that you have, any projects that you're working on. Plan for those things ahead of time because it just brings that anxiety down. It makes you feel more comfortable in the situation. It presents you in that way that you are confident, that you know what you're talking about, that you're capable. You are capable, but don't wait till the last minute to prepare when you know that you need to prepare. And if you want to know more about how not to procrastinate, if procrastination is something that you struggle with or that you're trying to overcome, I do have another video. Just go back down memory lane a few videos and you can find out what I recommend to avoid or to stop having procrastination. Number 6 is to affirm yourself daily. That is part of my morning routine, especially since I've been working with King Ashley Ann as my business coach. But even before that, devotional was a part of my day, and looking at trying to shift like any negative thoughts into positive thoughts, it's been a part of my practice and also a part of my therapy. So you want to affirm yourself, like you want to constantly pour into yourself positive things, having a positive image and reminding yourself of who you are, what you're capable of, what you do, what you love about yourself, that self-love, and reminding yourself of these capabilities that you have. That kind of combats that negative mindset, that negative spirit, and anytime that you're feeling self-conscious or you're feeling less than, you want to constantly affirm yourself. And that helps out with that imposter syndrome and feeling like, oh, I'm not capable, I can't do this person is doing it better than me. That kills all of that noise. Number 7, remember what God said about you and what He would do. Remember His promises to you. That is, like, the Bible is full of affirmations in itself, but, it's full of love that God expresses to us. And remember those things. And a good way to do that is, like I said, with doing daily devotionals. But you want to remember what He said about you. Remember how He loved you. Remember the promises that He has specifically communicated to you. How you communicate with God and how you hear His word that is specifically to you is through prayer and just staying in communication and continually learning and studying His word. But you want to keep those things in mind whenever you're feeling like you lack the skills or whatever it is that you feel like you're lacking, that you feel like you don't deserve these opportunities, you don't deserve this business, or you don't deserve whatever compensation that you're receiving, or if you're feeling like, oh, I'm not deserving of asking for what I'm worth. Remember his promises specifically to you and how he wants you to get there. So let's do a quick recap of the 7 ways that you can move past imposter syndrome so that you can be your best in business and be your best as a mom. Number 1 is identify why you are feeling that way, and then kind of tackle that feeling. Number 2 is tap into what you're gifted at, skilled at, and passionate about. Number 3 is be honest with yourself and others about where you are on your journey, whether you're a beginner, learning something new, pivoting, or anything like that. Number 4 is don't give false results. Talk about what you've learned, what you've done, and what you're capable of, and what qualities you have, what qualifies you. Number 5, don't procrastinate. Prepare yourself well ahead of time for any task or project or deadline that you have. Number 6, affirm yourself daily. And number 7, remember the promises from God and what He said about you. So, let me know if this was helpful for you, or even if it wasn't helpful and it sucked, let me know that too in the comments. I'm all about getting feedback and all about improving. So let me know what you thought about this. And if you've experienced imposter syndrome, I'm curious to hear about that. Like, what has been your experience with imposter syndrome now that you know what it is, how it makes you feel, and more information about it? Have you ever had an experience with that? And if so, how did you handle it? Or if you're still dealing with that or struggling with imposter syndrome, which of these 7 steps or which of these 7 approaches do you think that you'll try to overcome that? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you found this helpful, feel free to subscribe and ring that bell so that you'll be one of the first to know the next time I drop a video, a tutorial, or a how-to. And I've enjoyed spending this time with you guys. I look forward to seeing you next time. And thank you for watching and listening.